In this Hubnut video, I'm going to be putting this Datsun 280C wagon through its paces. But first of all, we need to discuss a little Cedric history. So conveniently, my friends Evan and Patrick own this first generation Cedric, which I have driven, and this second generation Cedric, which I have also driven. This one sold over here in the Netherlands as a Super 6 saloon. In this gap, or perhaps I'll drop a picture about here somewhere, you can see the 230 and the 330 generations of Cedric. So we got 30, 130, 230, 330, 430 generation. But by this time, people were starting to laugh a bit at the Cedric nameplate. So they actually called this model the 280C instead. The C still stands for Cedric. Where are you, badge? There you are. 280C. Obviously, I'm going to get very excited about the twin rear wipers, but you know, in good time, in good time. Now, Cedric was a name chosen because the CEO of Nissan at the time of the first Cedric got the name out of a book. I've forgotten the name of the book, but it's quite a famous book. There's a character called Cedric, and he thought it would be an appropriate image for the car. So obviously that just didn't age particularly well. So the 280C was then replaced by the 300C. But actually the Cedric name remained in use in Japan well into the 2000s, well after they stopped selling the 280C and 300C in the UK and Europe. So this example belongs to my friends Evan and Patrick. It is an absolutely stunning example. It's got 112,000 kilometers on the clock, and the condition is just superb. It's not absolutely perfect. You can tell it's done some miles in its life, but the general condition is just absolutely superb. It's a car they bought, I think, in 2006. So let's pop the bonnet, have a nose at the engine. So I'm recording this at Japan Classic Sunday. Farewell. Where there are superb cars like that Subaru Vivio Targa Top. Never seen one of those before in my life, and that's some fair ladies just queuing up to get out. Quite the event. Do check out my show report on those. There will be two parts, I think, because there are so many cars. If we lift the enormous bonnet of the car, we can see the wipers hiding up at the back, and also the engine, which is the L28. So it's the L series. There were 4-cylinder and 6-cylinder overhead cam engines, very much inspired by Mercedes-Benz by the look of that rocker cover. We've still got a carburetor on this example, distributor, but down there's the oil filter. There's actually quite a lot of room to work on the enormous engine. The L series engine also used in the Z series Datsuns. And over here, I wonder if it works. Yes, of course it works. You've got a little light which I believe you can twist and pull out to use around the engine bay. A lovely little feature. It's recirculating ball steering, not a steering rack, and behind this big engine is an automatic transmission. Moving indoors, it's very, very clear, as if the outside wasn't enough of a clue, that America is the inspiration here. It reminds me very much of big old American wagons, and that bit of fake wood trim on the boot lid just emphasizes it all the more. Big thin rimmed steering wheel, very, very square gauges. This car dates from 1980, and it still feels a little bit dated for 1980, but again, that's all very American as well. Electric windows, we've got a lovely light stalk. Shall we see what happens when you open the door with the lights on? Absolutely nothing. Very disappointing. I expected a little bong or a beep. The ergonomics are all over the place. Look at all this switch gear down here. You'll notice rear wiper and wash. Oh, I'm looking forward to that button. Rear defogger, side window. Are you wondering what the side window is? Well, I shall show you. The side window is back here. You can actually raise and lower the side window. If I just grab the key, so you can use the button on the dashboard, or when you come to the car with your shopping, you can lower the window with the key, so you can drop your shopping in and then close it again and be on your way. We'll do it all the way up now. So an interesting feature, and that featured throughout the Cedric line. So the Cedric 130s, like the wagon I found in a scrapyard, that had the same window setup. But you'll note this is on the road side because it's a left-hand drive car. They didn't swap the window over, so it was always on this side of the car. So in Japan and the UK, it was great. You could stand on the curb and drop your shopping in. Here, not so useful. The chaotic controls also include the fuel lid and headlamp washers. Over here, again, it's just ergonomic chaos. The hazard warning light, you pull this little pin out and very quietly you can hear the indicator relay. Then you got the heater fan here, but the heater controls are just baffling. You've got cold and hot air, fair enough. But then you've got off, vent, bi-level heater, recirc heater, and defrost modes. It doesn't seem any easy way of getting it up or down or where you want it. It's all a bit confusing. A nice little ashtray. The radio is also confusing because the radio is powering the front speakers mounted up here on top of the dashboard. The cassette player is the rear, so you can actually have different things playing front and rear. All very peculiar. Quartz digital clock. Should we wake it up? There we go. So you can hear the fuel pump. The fuel pump, not entirely happy in this car. It's on the replace list, but he got us here, so it must be fine. Glove box, and we've got a bit more 280 history. I'm going to file that away in there. There we go. And here's the control for the 3-speed automatic transmission. Very, very syrupy. Handbrake and a little oddment box full of cassettes. Oh, what have Ivan and Patrick got in here? Oh, it's secret. The REM New Adventures in Hi-Fi. Well, that seems very fitting for this car. So yes, good music there. Good times. Big comfortable seats, very broad, very much designed for American frames, but yeah, lovely comfortable place to sit. And even the headliner is tan, with massive sun visors. Jumping into the rear, it's all a bit tight, to be honest. Yeah, my knees are in the back of the seat in front, set for me. The head restraint is right in my shoulder. It feels generally like the seat is designed for a much smaller person. So I suppose as a family vehicle for all your kiddies, absolutely fine. But for me, bit of a problem. But I have got really decent amounts of headroom because the roof sort of scoops up towards the back. So it is actually a comfortable place to sit in that regard, just not in terms of knee room or back room. I mean, I can raise the head restraint, but I'm not sure it goes high enough for my head. But I can tune the radio, apparently, although it seems like there's a blanking plug there and there also, so maybe I can't. Just notice lumbar adjustment though, very nice. Got my own 12 volt power outlet, as we call them these days, in the back. Little ashtray, little nets, everything in lovely condition. In fact, I've just noticed that if I open the door, we have actually got little illumination lights. So that's quite funky. Well, we can do a very thorough boot test in this car, can't we? We'll lift the tailgate and look how beige it is. And I can kind of climb in, sort of, into this rear seat. But yeah, there's not very much leg room back here. It's all a bit tight, designed for much smaller children, but smaller children who get their own speakers. And on one side, a window that opens. There is no way of controlling the window inside, so at least you haven't got them messing about. The fuel tank is underneath the feet, which is why there really isn't much depth. So it is very much a tiny person sort of a seat. Oh, trying to get back out again. See if we can fold it down. There we go, do that. Then we got to pull that over center and that over center. And that's your boot. So obviously very, very large. Oh no, there we go. Okay, even waving at me there because you have to depress the throttle once and that sets the choke. It's an automatic choke, but it's kind of a manualish sort of a choke, and then you can raise the revs gently and it brings the choke effect down. Into drive, I parked the car, so naturally I didn't set the handbrake earlier, and we'll head out and go for a cruise in the mighty 280C. Right, we'll try and get ourselves a slot as a little Honda Acti pickup comes past. No wonder he's got ear defenders in there. Yeah, already you can tell how smooth this is. It is a smooth operator, no doubting. And I've got the passenger window wide open at the moment because it is quite hot. Actually got indicators left. Quite unusual for Japanese stuff. And away we go. And it's a 60-kilometer road, so we can go no quicker. Unfortunately, we have got a door open. I can assure you none of the doors are actually open. But as we come to our first dremple, we go humpity hump and downity down, floaty 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 float. It's a little bit waterbedish, but it's not actually too bad. And dynamically, this is not a match for some of the European cars. A Ford Granada feels much more taut and responsive and like you'd actually want to chuck it around. This feels a bit too much like an American car, although a very well sorted American car. The steering is actually very good and it turns in quite nicely. It doesn't roll alarmingly. Yeah, it's quite good. I'm just going to put up the passenger window a bit, reduce the noise. Oh, I've now got my side window open. I need to do that up as well. There we go. And now everything is blissful. So we drove about 65 kilometers here today, and this was just a joy to sail along in because you basically can't hear anything. There's a bit of a hum from somewhere, but that's otherwise it. It just wafts along and hit these drempels. Speed humps in Dutch. It's just lovely. But these cars were popular because they were enormous and so capacious for load carrying. So there was a bit of a devoted following for them, albeit never a huge one. This is a time before the Volvo 740 existed. The 240 did. The 740 was the real hero of the antique world. You had the Citroen CX. Which could not be more different from this experience. The CX being very, very floaty and also enormous. They're absolutely huge. Yeah, it's just a really pleasant and easy car to drive. It's not challenging at all. It's easy to place because it's so big and square. I can kind of see every corner of it. Which certainly isn't the case with a CX. Oh. Lovely Opel Kadett there. The brakes work really nicely. They're lovely and progressive. Nice smooth action. And oh my gosh, I'm going to have to turn the camera because we've got an old AC 2-litre saloon. That was. Holy cow. Oh, I suppose while we're pottering through this little town, I could do a front wiper test. Let's just deal with this big lorry before I distract myself. And here we go. Oh dear, that's actually a disappointing performance. We've got a huge bit of neglect going on here, and a massive triangle of disappointment, triangle of doom even. I'm very disappointed by this triangle of doom. So the wipers do park off the screen, but it's almost like they don't come up enough. So that's very strange. I would expect better. I think there has been better because I can see wiper scratches extending to at least here. Oh, look how tired those wiper blades are. But pretty good overlap. There's a very small triangle of doom. But yeah, how cool. 2 rear wipers. It's just the way to go, really. Yeah, it doesn't exactly feel strained. It had a bit of a cough then. I don't know if that's related to the fuel pump issue. But, you know, now we're doing 80 kilometers an hour and there's a bit more wind noise. But otherwise, not a lot else. Sorry, you are staring at a windscreen pillar at the moment. Perhaps that enables you to see this Citroen Mehari coming along. That's lovely and unexpected. It's Sunday here in the Netherlands. They're obviously getting their classics out. So the 280C was replaced by the 300C, and that had sadly a single rear wiper, but it did have an opening tailgate glass, I believe, and that was the replacement for the shopping window. Yeah, that was probably a better solution. The looks were toned down and modernised a little, but still not a huge success here, because then we started going to things like the Nissan Maxima and the Laurel. The Laurel is a slightly smaller car to this, and that wasn't offered in estate form, and nor was the Maxima. Oh, now we've got a 2CV coming along here. Magnificent. Bonjour! Yeah, 0 to 50 kilometers is smooth and I'm going to dare say it, a little unexciting. It just gets on and does it. No histrionics, just oodles of torque. And the gearbox wants to use the torque. It doesn't want to keep the engine revving, and that's nice. I have no idea where we're going. Let's go and see what we can find. A few roundabouts to test that handling. The steering's light and uninformative, but it does the job. And like I say, it's actually quite poised, so it doesn't wallow around. You can chuck it into a roundabout pretty quickly and feel confident it's not going to do anything silly. Right, behold the beige. We're going to do some acceleration testing. Still only an 80 kilometer speed limit, but oh wow, that's brisk. Yeah, that got us up to 80 quite nicely. You actually ask this thing to hitch its skirts and get a shift on, and she does. Not really what you buy this car for. It's just nice to actually be able to hear that big 6-cylinder engine for once, because generally it's just smoothly humming away under that enormous bonnet. But sadly, these cars have become very, very rare because they're big and solid, very popular with banger racers, plus they just rusted away. May have been exported as well. So in the UK, there are, I think, a couple of survivors known. So there you go, that's the rather delicious Datsun 280C, or Cedric if you're of that persuasion. Just marvellous. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget you can head to the Hubnut store and buy lovely goodies should you wish, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Farewell. I went all itchy boots just because I'm in the Netherlands. Tick, 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 tick. There we go, perfect.
That was quite a refreshing shower.